Hi folks, TheFilipinaPea here. And today I'd like to talk about something that affects nearly every citizen of this country. Something that has forever changed the landscape when it comes to the way people interact. And something that has drastically altered the development of our culture, for better or for worse. I'm talking, of course, about the explosion of social media in the Philippines. In less than one generation, only about 15 years, our entire population has so thoroughly assimilated this new technology that our relatively small nation is now known as the social media capital of the world. Filipinos spend more time online than anyone else on the planet, with an average of 10.8 hours per day, typically spent on a smartphone. Despite crushing poverty here, everyone still seems to be in possession of a mobile device, and the ability to connect online has almost been elevated to a God-given right. Filipinos, some of whom had very little contact with people outside their own villages, are now plugged into the World Wide Web and exposed to new ideas and images that would not have otherwise been available. How has this changed the psyche of the nation? And what does this mean to you Westerners who admire the traditional aspects of our culture and might hope to start a relationship with a woman, unspoiled by modern Western values? Has social media ruined the Filipina? Go to any place where people gather, and what you're liable to find these days is a group sitting in silence, with heads bowed as if praying, each with a cell phone just inches from their noses. We can be physically together, and yet worlds apart, living in separate virtual worlds. Now you might say, well, my country went through the same technological revolution, and although it had a huge impact with people buried in online activities, it didn't fundamentally alter the society. Well, let me explain why the new online culture had such a dramatic effect here. Imagine the life of a Filipina working in a rice field of a small village a few years back, say 2001. Her entire existence consisted of waking up in the morning, working the crops all day. Then, if her family was lucky enough to have electricity and a TV, they might watch a few hours of Filipino soap operas together before bed, and repeat the same process the next day. Now fast forward just a couple years, with smartphones, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, and a whole bunch of dating sites. After taking care of her duties, the same Filipina will spend every waking moment obsessed with her phone, jumping from site to site, texting her friends, and making a bunch of new ones she'll probably never even meet. Less time for TV, less time with the family, less time for anything that's not related to her online persona. You might say, but what about all the great things the internet has brought us? For the first time in human history, we've got the entire knowledge of mankind right in our hands. Well, yes, the internet is the perfect tool for acquiring knowledge, but that's not what it's mostly used for here. I'm afraid the most frequent uses are the lowest common denominator activities, like spreading chismes on each other's Facebook accounts, or watching TikTok videos of a twerking cousin. Sure, there's plenty of that in more developed countries too, but it's becoming the national pastime of the Philippines, and nothing much useful comes from it. So how do these social changes in the Philippines affect you Western guys? Well, once again, let's go back to 2001, and you're a foreigner looking for a Filipina. Basically, you only have a few choices. Without knowing that much about Filipinas, you could hop on a plane and come here in person, and do what a lot of guys did and look in towns near military bases where there always seemed to be plenty of women. Or you could travel blindly out into the provinces to meet people who might never have even talked to a foreigner in their entire lives, which is still not a bad strategy. But it made it difficult and time-consuming to find the woman of your dreams. But now, think about how much things have changed in the blink of an eye. From the comfort of your own bed, you can reach out across the planet and talk in real time to women on the other side of the globe, who you never would have known existed just a few years ago. Millions of women of all shapes, sizes, and colors with all their personal information and photos right there for you to see. What could possibly be a more convenient way to find what you're looking for? If there's a traditional, honest, innocent woman out there who's looking for a good man, surely this new method of communication will let you find her. Well, here's the problem with that. Remember our Filipina tending to the rice fields all day? The idea of meeting a handsome stranger from a faraway land would have been just a dream, whispered between friends in the village. But now, she's realized that if she plays her cards right, she can actually make it come true. So, very quickly, a lot of Filipinas have learned to play cards, and some have become very good at it. Not in a devious way, but a kind of skill that naturally develops when you do something on a daily basis for 10.8 hours. Because not only has social media changed the way you relate to Filipinas, it's fundamentally changed the way we Filipinas interact with you. For the first time in history, many of those sweet, innocent provincial girls suddenly have hundreds of men in their bedroom at night. Not physically, but electronically, with intimate chat and photos. Photos that the previous generation would have never even dared to contemplate just a few years ago. And that's because we're being exposed to things, new ideas and attitudes that we might not have encountered before. Things like pornography and new attitudes about casual dating and relationships. So it's a double-edged sword. You might have easy access into the far reaches of the jungle, but the far reaches of the jungle now have easy access to you and your culture. And we're quickly becoming desensitized to many of the things you say you detest. And it's more than just being exposed to new things. For some people, it's realizing how easy it is to use the power at our fingertips for less than honorable goals. Social media doesn't make people evil, but it sure can facilitate deception. For both men and women, it's never been easier to maintain multiple online relationships with people you may or may not have even met. And the anonymous nature of social media also makes it very easy to be heartless. Just a decade or two ago, try juggling 5 different relationships and keeping all of them in the dark about each other. Almost impossible. But today, that's just a slow afternoon on Facebook, if that's the kind of person you are. And by constantly talking to a lot of other guys from around the world, I'm afraid that Filipinos are losing our collective innocence. It's so ironic that the thing that puts you in touch with us may be the very thing that's ruining the qualities you're looking for. This new ease of contact can also result in other consequences too, like jealousy. When one Filipina posts a relationship with a foreigner, her friends can become irrationally jealous and begin tearing her down online in the form of cyberbullying and other means of social sabotage. Many longtime friendships have been utterly ruined by online interactions, and now the whole world is watching the battle and cheering from the sidelines. It also means that her relatives will become aware of your relationship and start contacting you directly behind your girlfriend's back for loans and other financial assistance. These new social media tools have changed the rules of engagement in a lot of unintended ways, and in many cases, this is not the same country it was just a short time ago. But I do have one bright spot to mention. As far as I can tell, despite the onslaught of ideas and information flooding the Philippines, Western third-wave feminism doesn't seem to be taking hold here. Filipinas still believe in traditional gender roles and value the idea of a male and female union. We're not man-haters by any stretch of the imagination. And we don't believe we're being paid less than men or being kept out of any areas of higher education. Quite the opposite. We know that it's the Filipinas who typically find jobs first. And we also outnumber the men when it comes to higher education. Of course, the feminists would like us to believe otherwise, but we know better. How long we can keep the door shut against this infection, though, is anyone's guess.
On the door! On the door! On the door! On the door!
But at least we're trying. As with all new technology, The advent of social media in the Philippines is a mixed bag. When used for good, it's an invaluable tool for knowledge, progress, and coming together as a species. But use it unwisely, and we risk losing the essence of what made us so unique and wonderful to the rest of the world. Well, this has been Reporter P, giving you a look at things from the perspective of an Asian woman in a rapidly changing culture. And I hope it gives you a new insight into the forces at play when you consider that complicated creature known as the Filipina. Till next time, folks. If you think about it, I'm kind of like Hermione Granger, because I always do my homework before I present a subject for your consideration. I'm at the top of my class when it comes to the subject of East-West relations, and I'm more than happy to help you craft a love potion for that special someone. All I ask for my magical knowledge is that you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell to let you know when the next lesson has begun. And in case you're even thinking of looking elsewhere for your information, just remember that my wand is a lot bigger than yours. But if that's not the case, please shoot me an email